Hi, this is Ruben, and I want to talk to you about the wonders of the Spanish writing system. I'll help you understand the mysteries of the Spanish writing system. I'm going to talk about Spanish accents and why they matter, what they do for us. It's really pretty amazing, the Spanish writing system. It's pretty different from the English writing system. And Spanish takes care of something that English does not. English allows a lot of ambiguity in its writing system. This is really what most of, possibly all Spanish accent rules help us to be unambiguous in our writing. What I mean by ambiguity is not being sure of which way to pronounce a word. Let me give you an example. We could have this here. We could have, for example, this. Now, if I do that, you are not quite sure if it's an O or a 0, right? Some people like to go like this, and now you know it's a 0. Here's another one. This. You're not quite sure if it's an L or a 1. If I go like this, now you probably think it's a 1. Because it looks like first. But then again, if I go like this, now you think it's an L again because it looks like lost. Well, Spanish does not have this problem. There is no ambiguity when you're reading things. When you're writing, there is, but not when you're reading. Let me show you another example of this in English. We have this word here, which you're never quite sure when you see it on its own if it's pronounced read or read. Even if you say I read the books, it could be I read the books. So you need other words like yesterday or just, or actually just wouldn't help. Yesterday or always, these kinds of things to give you a clue about whether it's present or past. Get that out of here. So next, check out these words. I'm going to give you some more examples in English, and I think it'll help you to understand why we have this in Spanish. This word right here probably is minute, but it could be pronounced minute. It uses the same spelling to pronounce the word minute. This word here probably is record, but it could be record also. And this word here, we're not sure if it's offense, like offense and defense, or offense, like you look kind of weird, no offense, that sort of thing. Well, how would we deal with this? How could we make it so that it's unambiguous? How could we add something to it to make it not guesswork? Well, one idea is you could have a capital letter if you want that syllable to be louder. So, for example, you could say minute because this has a capital letter. You could also do offense, and you could write record like this. This would make it clear. So if you have a capital C here, then that's going to be pronounced record. You could likewise say, if it doesn't have a capital C, then it's going to be pronounced record, or offense, or minute. That's an idea. Another idea would be to actually write a mark on there. And we could say, well, we can mark, we could mark this one here, and that would be minute. We could mark this one here, and that would be offense. We could save time also by just saying if it doesn't have the mark on there, then it's going to be pronounced on the second to last syllable, minute, and offense. And now this is very, very, very similar to what they do in Spanish. In Spanish, what you have is a default and an exception. So the default in Spanish is that if it ends with a vowel, then naturally we're going to pronounce it on the second to last syllable like this, minute. And this ends with a vowel, so this would be pronounced offense. So if you wanted to say minute, you would have to put it, mark it. And if you wanted to say offense, you would have to mark it. Now, the way Spanish does it is they separate vowels and consonants. So this would be, the default would be pronounced record because it ends with a consonant. It's just the opposite of this, right? This is offense. Well, this would be record. So what would we have to do here? to pronounced record, well, obviously this is an exception, so we'd have to say record, like this. This is, in a nutshell, the Spanish writing system. It takes away all ambiguity. Notice we don't have to put a mark on the O because the default is that it's record. We don't have to put a mark on the I to make it sound like minute because by default it's going to sound like minute because it ends with an E. So this is probably what confuses most people, is that they separate consonants and vowels in Spanish. But with a little practice, you'll get a hold of it. Now, here's a word that I made up. I think you could pronounce this two different ways: on the last syllable, stressed, or on the second to last syllable. But as I wrote it, how would we pronounce it? Right, it ends with an E. So by default, it's going to be like minute, offense. This would be nicem, nicem. And if you wanted to write nisome, the only way to do that would be to make it an exception and put a mark on the O. This would be nisome, nisome. It's an invented word, but this would follow the same pattern that we have here. Okay? Basically, there are other rules that I'm going to talk about later. Here's actually, I'll link to my other videos. This is going to be talking about the diacritico, acento diacritico. And then this is going to be about diphthongs or diptongos in Spanish, and that should clear those things up a little bit. I think